It's the Saulir one Sci-Fi Podcast.
Well, hello, this is episode 143 of the Solar on Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Ball. I'm joined once again by the demigod of knowledge, Martin Fowler. Now, this week, just to say, you'll have a slightly different dynamic from the usual. Martin's not feeling too good, and he just, Martin, he always looks so good on the show, and he said to me,
thank you very much.
He said, basically, I'm so committed to the show, but basically, he's sort of intimating to me that he looks like a pile of shit. So we're going to hear Martin. You're going to see me in my wonderful. Now listen, Martin. Thank you for joining me. I'm really sorry you're not too good. But we wanted to actually just talk about a series which I watched back in the late 80s. It was based on one of my favourite ever science fiction stories. And it was, of course, done by H.G. Wells. So that was The War of the Worlds. Or actually, it wasn't The War of the Worlds. It was War of the Worlds. And it was a very, very strange series because it was actually a sequel to a loosely made film version done in 1953, which really didn't stand out from the original H.G. Wells novel. So, actually, before we actually quickly go into the actual focus of the week, let me quickly ask you, have you heard anything sci-fi wise, anything that you want to talk about? I've heard a couple of things, but before we go into that, anything you're ready that you want to talk about?
No, there's nothing. No,
it's been pretty quiet, hasn't it? I mean, I've been hearing some stuff now. I've been hearing apparently that The Mandalorian season 4 might be. The writer's strike is now kicking in. And I don't know if we've talked about it too much on recent shows, but it is kicking in, and it is going to have a big effect on most of our shows that we watch, which of course are generated by the States. And this is an American writer's strike. I don't think it doesn't affect the UK at all. So Doctor Who, as it is, will be continuing, which is, it might be good. I'm pessimistic, but shows like apparently potentially Strange New World season 3 might be delayed from production. That's supposed to be starting soon. Mandalorian season 4 might be delayed. I've heard that the writer of Andor, they are filming season 2, the second and last season of that, and apparently he is pulled out on the last sort of like elements of the story. So that could mess things up. So that's going on there. What else have I heard? I had something else I wanted to mention, but I can't think what it was. What was it? What do you think about the Babylon 5 animated continuation? You must have heard about that. What do you think about that?
I've heard, I've been following that. I'm sort of in two minds about it. I'm not that bothered. Really.
Yeah, but it's all like, it's all right.
I would have preferred the live action. I'm full of flow, and that's why you're not seeing because.
Yeah. Did I say that? I thought I mentioned that, but yeah, Martin's really. He's got the flu. He's actually a real trooper here. He's still joining me for the show, and I said to him about 10 minutes ago, I said, Martin, we could do it next week. He said, no, I'm going to do it, and that's really kind of him. So we can always talk about this stuff, and it's fine. And don't forget that when I originally started the show, it was just audio only. So this is a kind of like almost like a step back to the days before episode 60, where we did our first show on video. So it's fine. But you can look at me and my lovely backgrounds, and you're my handsome man. Look at my little t-shirt. Look good. So
you don't look like a TV presenter this week.
Now every time you say that, I dread to think about the analogy of what I look like this week. So. Okay, what do I look like this week? He's not saying that.
I've been trying to put a picture and don't know how to do it.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can put a picture with the webcam. Well, no, you can share pictures, but whatever.
Oh, right.
Anyway, doesn't matter. It's fine. You're there. So, shall we go into our focus of the week?
We're going to talk about that, aren't we?
We are. So let's go into the jingle, and then we'll go straight into it. Here we go.
It's the Solar Sci-Fi Focus of the Week.
Right then.
All right, so this week we are focusing on a show which is It's a very odd one. This one, I think it stars Jared Martin. It's got Philip Atkin, Richard Chaves, who was in Predator of all things. I've never seen him in Predator, and I always thought of him. Every time I go back to Predator, I always think of him as the Native American character in that show. We had a guy in a wheelchair as well. I remember him. I can't remember his name. Is it Norton Drake? I think it was.
Yeah, no.
And Linda Mason Green as the female scientist, whatever she was. So, The War of the Worlds, a series which really is one of those shows that went through the biggest ever change of gear from season 1 to season 2. It actually reminded me a bit of Picard season 2 to 3. How it's strange because normally when a show changes gears, it often messes it up. And Picard was the reverse, where it actually made things a lot better in season 3. Season 2 of War of the Worlds, I keep saying the War of the Worlds, it was just War of the Worlds, was a real change in dynamic. But let's focus on season 1. So, okay, let me ask you, because I love these stories about how you first hear about these shows. How did you hear about War of the Worlds, this version from 1988?
The what?
How did you hear about the show initially when it came on?
I came across it on VHS.
Okay, me too. That's exactly how I did it as well.
VHS, I saw a poster for it. And I remember it was in an off license actually around where I lived.
Yeah, mine was.
A big poster.
Yeah. Give Martin give him a second. He's really not well. Don't worry, that's fine.
Right, I'm just having a lemon sip.
Yep, go for it.
Right, they had a big portrait shop window.
Right.
And saw it, and I thought to myself, well, I've got to have that. I want to watch it. What's this? It was a big hand going round the earth, and they're back. Do you know what I mean? It never said it. I saw one at Martian things from the 50s on the poster, and I thought it just said they're back, and this time they get our bodies. And I was the first person in that shop to rent that.
Oh, really? I can imagine you doing that. I would have thought you would have seen that, because obviously I loved the 1953 version. I think it is actually my favourite version of the War of the Worlds on TV so far. My favourite version, which is apart from the book, is the Jeff Wayne version, which I love. But the 1953 version was, I remember seeing it as a kid, and I remember this Mexican goes, we come in peace. We want to talk to you. We want, and the actual heat ray is kind of like bellowing down on him, and he's got a little moustache, and he's waving his flag, and he goes dum 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 like that, and he was like, they're all wiped out. And I love this. The one thing I love about the original movie is the sound effects. The sound effects are so cool. And if you watch the Blu-ray version of it recently, they remastered it in a really good way. It's very stereophonic. It's just got a good soundtrack. They've actually mixed in a lot of stuff, because 1953 is a long time ago. I mean, it is. What was it? 70 years ago. It's a long time ago, and it's still that good. To have this version as a continuation was a really interesting thing to do. And I think that the idea of it was really good, but I think from my perspective the problem was it was the way they did it, where it was basically that the aliens from the original movie, they died of bacteria, but they didn't decompose, and so they had loads of Martian bodies who they weren't actually Martians in this version either. They were just aliens apparently. They just put them in these big metal drums and put them like on air force bases and military organisation bases and stuff like that, which I thought was a bit weird. And
I'm gonna be honest, the whole fucking series was weird.
It was, and
none of it.
Oh my god! And so like they've been sitting in these metal drums, alien organisms, okay, And also, don't forget, everyone in 1953, there was a War of the Worlds. Nobody remembered, which was one of the strangest things I've ever seen in a science fiction sequel series. Nobody remembered, apart from about 10 people in the whole of America and about 3 people in London or something. And
I watched an episode today when I was uploading it.
which one did you watch? Oh my god.
The one where they go back to Grover's Mill, where it all
That's
started.
the best one! I love that one. And you got
Where-
the heat ray on the car.
On
And
the
it's like,
hearse.
Dum dum dum
Dum
dum.
dum dum dum. Oh, that was terrible. And he built a satellite dish in a bar. Yeah.
And
did
boom,
that.
boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom. And the heat ray bounced back and it hit back. Oh my god. And there's all these like Martian bikers. And they were going grrrr like this. And they're like, and it was like, oh my god. But what I liked about that episode is what you saw a heat ray, you saw a Martian war machine dug up. And the best scene is the bit where he goes rah rah, and then he goes dum 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 dum, and it destroys his 80s sort of like civilian car or something.
What were they gonna?
Weird.
What were they gonna do with that one weapon?
Well, they're supposed to go back to Life Immortal, the
Oh, that's
hierarchy. Whatever they're
to
called.
them 3.
Yeah, the 3 in the helmet things. But who were they're in the first episode, and then of course they took over human bodies, but the bodies, because they were highly radioactive, they were decomposing fast.
Yeah.
But their Martian alien body somehow they were living within a humanoid form, human form, but they needed to be in this kind of like anti-radiation suit. It was okay. All right, okay. The episode you mentioned is the one I liked the best, actually. And that was the weirdest. And they're like, "What? Tell me what you think about this series, because this series is crazy." What the hell is it about?
I mean, I'm going to watch the pilot episode tonight. I've not
Resurrection.
seen it. Well,
Resurrection.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lot of terrorists attack this dump, and they're going to blow it up and blackmail America, and then they end up waking up these aliens, and they take over the bodies.
Yep. Actually, do.
And then there's like 8 people or whatever. Remember, in 1953, an entire alien invasion force turned up on the Earth and annihilated everything. And
That's pretty
people
much
forgot
it.
about it.
Yeah.
People have forgot about it. And it builds where they steal 3 war machines from a bunker. Where's the rest of them?
Area 51.
Hey,
Area 51.
Well, why? There must be hundreds of war machines across the world. You see, when I rented this, right, I was expecting that they back engineered some of the technology. Well, you wouldn't just bury
Reverse engineered, you mean? Yeah.
Well, some of it at least.
Yeah.
But the world carried on, and you get one episode where some people in Grover's Mill, pensioners, remember them. Oh yeah, they came through that night.
Yeah, but apparently that was a different. Apparently that was like an early kind of scout group, which went to Grover's Mill.
Yeah.
But those ones, which they destroyed because they used that as a reference to the actual radio version, they still retained what happened. But the main force that came in 1953, 99.999 people completely forgot it, even though their houses would have been destroyed. There were huge Martian war machines crashed in streets, which you saw at the end of the movie.
Thousands of them. It's like they conquered every continent in the world.
And like your Artie Thora would have been killed by the Martians as well. So if you lost your memory, what happened to Artie Thora? So
I don't know.
okay, so like let's set it like 10 years after 1963, right? Okay, right, and you have a family Christmas meal, and you go around, and you've got your Uncle Bert, and you've got your your cousin Vinny, and everything else. And you're sitting there with your Christmas meal, and then you start talking about Auntie Thora. Oh, Auntie Thora, yeah, what happened to her? Oh, she died in 1953, yeah. How did she die?
Right, let's go into the facts of this. Right. Let's go into the logic of this alien invasion force from the planet Mothra or whatever.
Mothra, yeah, not Mars. It was Mothra, yeah.
Mothra came to Earth, conquered it, then they didn't think, they were the most stupid aliens you could ever meet. They didn't think about bugs.
Yeah.
Killed them all off or knocked them out. So everybody in the world was so freaked out by it. They got all the Martian technology, buried it all away in bunkers.
Sorry, Mothran technology, not Martian technology.
Mothran, sorry, I apologise.
Sorry, go on, that's fine.
Mothran technology, and just buried it. And then let's get back to normal, let's carry on with the world.
Yeah.
And nobody had back-engineered any of the technology. Nobody, and then suddenly the explanation was, everybody was so terrified they denied it ever happened.
Yeah, apparently they said that
apparently
it was so traumatic that it was erased from their minds because it was such a terrible experience.
Yeah, right.
Okay, like World War II. World War II. Okay, so like, okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
It was a bit of a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch.
This was like, when I rented the VHS, this was half an hour.
So how did you think about it when you watched that first time?
I remember pausing the videotape when Jared Martin came out with the explanation.
You see a brief scene with him as a kid. He's a kid.
did.
You see one scene with him as a kid, and you see it's back to the '53 version, and he's like, oh, and he's looking all scared and everything, and then it goes back to him explaining about the fact this trauma. It was weird.
Well, so 4 billion people are going to deny that ever happened.
Well, they're not supposed to remember it. But how can a collective?
I get
It's
it in
weird.
certain cases like.
Yeah, but every single
people
person,
deny
people are all
things.
different. People react to things differently. Some people
Yeah, but
react
not
to things.
4 billion.
Yeah, exactly. I'm agreeing with you. I don't understand it.
Yeah, So, like, into the first half an hour at VHS, like, I paused it and I thought, are you kidding me? Like, so
I'd love to see your first reaction.
It carried on. And then they ended up, like, killing them terrorists. And then him who worked Captain Ironhorse or whatever, Colonel
Ironhorse, yeah.
I mean, they had some ridiculous names, didn't they?
Ironhorse, yeah.
I
like the actor. The actor's great. I like the actor.
Fantastic.
He appeared in Voyager as well. He appeared he was in an episode with Chakotay. Remember the episode? I think it was called Tattoo, where Chakotay goes to a planet and he sees the symbol of his tattoo on his forehead, and he meets this Native American. They're not. His tribe are actually alien. And he has a flashback.
Yeah, they are, I remember that.
And the actor, I can't think his name. He's actually. Yeah, he's in that episode. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I like the actor,
Right.
and he was great in Predator. But it's not him. It's not the actor. But my God, what a terrible show! I can see someone in the background. That's fine. Sorry, I'm on.
Yeah, I mean, Colonel Ironhorse. I mean, he said to Jared Martin, he said, "I don't believe in aliens," and then they go and attack that abandoned town, and aliens take him out.
That's it. Yeah.
And then overtake his men, and they become aliens. Which stupid fucking language of how they talk.
Hang on a second. Sorry,
okay.
You just ask the door, Dylan. Okay. Sorry. See you in a minute. Sorry, my daughter just said something. Carry on what you're saying. Sorry, Martin. Go on. Sorry, matey. We're really struggling. That's right. Carry on. So carry on what you're saying. Sorry.
The show must go on.
Go on. Go.
So I mean, like, they took out the town, then he's finally convinced they exist. Then they set up a secret organisation under a farm, and this is where they're going to battle. And then you get the stereotype characters: the computer genius in the wheelchair, the female doctor, Colonel Ironhorse, who's a skeptic, and he's the cool, funky leader that believes in a positive outcome. You know, and every week they're up to some dastardly.
Oh, let's have a look at some of the episodes, because there was one where there's Native Americans where they found another war machine. It was one which actually had legs.
What?
What? Yeah, there was and all I remember was an Indian chief going wah wah, and it started lifting off the ground, but it had legs because of course they're supposed to be tripods, but with actual laser power beams or something. And if you look at my thumbnail this week's episode, you'll see it at the bottom middle, the actual alien war machine, because I put it in there today. But the most
actually
episodes
had legs where it could walk.
Yeah, it did.
Did it?
But it lifted up off the ground, but the shape of its form looked like a 1953 War Machine, but it was different. It was blue at the front, and it didn't have the actual heat ray at the top. So I really nerd out with stuff like this. So we did see another version of it. But my favourite episode was the one that I like the episode scene in the pilot where the 3 War Machines come out of Area 51 and they're back, and that was really good. And then we see them again in that Grosvenor's Mill, whatever it is, in the episode that you saw where they, from the first version, Invasion, whatever it was. But most of the episodes I seem to remember were them kind of like walking around, and they would like need to take control of a pharmacy for some materials that they can use to reignite parts of their body, or something they can use as a weapon. But it was literally, they were buggered. You know, the not Martians, the aliens, I can't remember what they're called again. What's their race?
Mothrans.
The Mothrans
Yeah.
were literally scavenging, and they were completely, utterly buggered. There was just a few of them who had retained from the original movie versions, which was so far back that they were really not recognisable. And they would take over bodies, and then the bodies would start to then decay very fast. And then and this is the best season, by the way. Let me just say this: there was a season 2.
Yeah,
and if you thought season 1, we'll have to
go
mention
to
it.
season 2. I know we're going to go there because
But this is the best season. I mean,
it is the best season.
I've got a big question at the end of this podcast.
No, please, not a big question.
No, about another version, and asking you about that version, but I won't come to it straight
Well,
away.
I mean, every week, I remember one, when I saw 1 or 2 episodes on video, then you couldn't get any more. And then a few years later, it turned up on Yorkshire television. It was on about 1 o'clock in the
TBS,
morning.
I think it was, yeah. We had it at TBS.
I was at an age I was going out a lot.
It was about 11 o'clock at night, or like on a Wednesday night.
1 o'clock.
Yeah. Something like that.
And I remember coming in from a nightclub or a pub pissed. And I'd walk in with kebab and I'd put telly on. And
Why is it always a kebab?
Yeah, and it started, and it was like 2 episodes a week. It's like ITV was the cheap trying to get through it.
Yeah, they're just fill on.
And I remember one episode where they're in a college, and you've got these guys dressed as Blues Brothers doing laser tag, and they all get possessed by Martians. And they're after something there, and I thought, oh, this is getting worse. And there were so many questions around this situation, and then we jumped to the cave with the 3 of them. The committee or whatever.
Oh, there was a word for them. Oh,
yeah,
God,
they had a word, didn't they?
Is it the advocacy or something like that?
The advocate, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember that. My God, that's good for me.
Yeah, so you've got the advocacy.
Yeah, advocacy. Go on, yeah.
You've got the advocacy that are just like, I mean, I watched the Grover's Mill one today, and the 3 of them were shitting themselves in a cave going, yes, but are they capable of bringing the weapon to us? And I'm sat there thinking, it's on a hearse with a load of bikers, like, you know, as if you're not going to get noticed. Like, it's on a hearse, and he builds a satellite dish, and then deflects the beam.
I know. Oh my God, yeah.
They've already got a defence against them. You've already got a defence against them, and that one with the Indian, the Red Indian, when he's chanting,
and
the alien ray gun, he's like dum dum at the back of it, coming up, and he's chanting, and he's suddenly, I don't know.
Oh, so you know the episode? That's what I'm talking about. That's the one I mean. That's the one with the alien.
That's not a bad one, but he sort of like, I mean, he gets rid of it because as he's chanting, doesn't it explode or disappear or something? Because I remember it being at the back of it, you know, the dum dum dum,
and it actually flies up into the sky.
Yeah, and it's
one.
like, because he's got some kind of mystical power that these people are nothing. Then there was the one in Alaska where one had been in suspended animation.
Oh,
and he
also
was running,
John Colicos was involved, who played, of course, from Star Trek. He was involved in an episode. I think he appeared in at least. I think he actually appeared in more than one episode. And I love John Colicos, but he was he was like an alien, but he was like a Section 31 thing, sort of like he was not part of the. That's not right. Not Section 31. What's it called? Fifth Column. He was like someone where he was an alien, but he wasn't working with the aliens. He was kind of like a separate kind of thing, like Fifth Column from V. And he appeared in at least one episode, and he had a kind of interesting relationship with the rest of the team, because he didn't have the same objectives as the rest of the aliens. I can't remember what episode he was in, but you know what I'm talking about. You remember he?
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah.
The best episode for me was episode 24 when that other alien turned up and started.
And then her storyline, if I remember correctly, wasn't pursued in season 2.
No, it wasn't. It was like, and then I remember I watched final episode as well. In season, at the beginning of season 2, all the original cast, Iron Horse, they all got murdered by aliens.
Oh well, let's go into season 2 because this is gonna be a shorter episode than normal because we're on limited capacity. But let's sort of talk about season 2. So they started off and they killed off everybody apart from the female character. She was character.
Well, they sort of like, you saw planet explode and they cleared off.
Yeah.
And then they ended up living in a warehouse. And they had that big like alien ball thing that floated around it, gave them instructions. Yeah. And then they killed the original lot off. But we did start to find out more about them.
I can't remember what happened. I can't remember the background now.
Find out about why they did what they did.
It was a mess. It was a mess. It was a total mess.
And because final episode, they all made peace in final episode, and the world had fallen apart as well. It was like a post-apocalyptic world.
There was an episode where they went back to the 1953 invasion. They actually tried to. They had a vaccine for the actual bacteria, and they were trying to immunize aliens from that version. And every scene in the past, which is annoying, was black and white for some reason. And of course you only saw one war machine very briefly. I wanted to see. I like the war machines. I like the original war machines.
But yeah, the second, I mean, like when the other lot turned up from their planet, they killed the original lot. They executed every one of them for failing, and then they were just as idiotic as the first lot.
Yeah, I know.
And then in the final episode, there was like they were going to release a plague, but they stopped it, and they came to a peace accord that, you know, they had nowhere to go, and they had to live here with us, and in the end they realised they had to live with us.
Yeah.
And that was it. That's where it sort of finished. It was like 43 episodes of what? What the thing?
Yeah, it's really. Well, I have to ask you this. This is what I mentioned to you previously. War of the Worlds. How would you rate this against the BBC 2019 War of the Worlds?
Oh, it shits all over it. I'm sorry, it does shit. I'll tell you why it shits.
Why?
Because it's so batshit crazy that somebody got millions of dollars to make that series, and they didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Yeah.
But there is some episodes in there that do work.
I like the one you watched though. I like the one you watched today. It was actually. Do you know my favourite episode? And
mine's the final one of season 1.
No, my favourite one is the one with the bikers, the one you saw today. But I like that.
Well, it's cool. I watched it today. Eye for an Eye.
Eye for an Eye is actually my favourite episode, and that's really guilty to admit that. But out of all,
no, it's not wrong with it. I mean, I am a fan.
Clever. It was like going back to the original movie, and to me, it was like. Yeah, I can. It was still a bit weird, but yeah, I
am a fan of this. I'm gonna.
I'm a fan of it. It's terrible, but I don't know why I love. I think it's because I love the War of the Worlds so much, but I still like it. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Even season 2 has its moments.
I don't remember much about season 2 at all.
Yeah, well, that's the point about it. It's probably best that you don't remember anything about season 2. You know, it is bad. Except the time travel episode and the final episode are probably the two
The
best.
time travel episode's the only one I remember.
I remember the final and the time travel. The rest of it, I just put it down the toilet. But it never explained why the world turned into a mess. Never explained.
Yeah, it had this like.
Never gave you any background.
You remember the intro? It had like do do do, and it had the panning of like a dark like nights. Like
3
view.
statues.
And it was like, yeah, and it was like everyone's like collapses. The statue collapses. We don't know what's happening. We're all dying. Tell us what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
It's
well, I
so
don't know,
weird.
but they all made peace at the end. They all made
Yeah,
that
I know,
one.
but I mean, out of plot holes. I mean, most sci-fi or most shows have plot holes of some degree. But is this show the ultimate plot hole series?
Oh yeah.
I mean, out of every show, you are the expert. You must have seen more science fiction. I mean, I'm not. If I've got like a level in sci-fi knowledge, you've got a PhD, right?
God.
So, as a PhD,
What
as
you mean in the bad type of stuff?
no, as in knowledge. So, Dr. Martin Fowler, you got a PhD in knowledge, right?
Right.
What do you think about the plot hole of War of the Worlds compared to what you've seen in the past?
Well, I mean, they ripped it off from the Invaders, didn't they? About the Body Snatcher and the Body Snatcher.
Yeah,
I mean,
Body
that was
Snatcher's
interesting.
Yeah.
I could go with that where they take over your bodies. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But it was the stuff about how the whole world forgot about it. And the second season, it never explained a damn thing. But you did find out they destroyed their own planet. They were that idiotic. They destroyed their own planet. If you've got an alien race out there that's going to get the idiot factor award of the year, it's these.
Well, look, I still like the series. It's a guilty
Yeah, no,
pleasure.
I do. They are the worst
Yeah, the
aliens.
worst.
But it shits all over the BBC one.
Thumbs up from me.
Thumbs up from me.
All right, Martin. Well, look, thank you for that. Out of 10, then, what do you rate War of the Worlds 1988?
I'm going to have to think about that for a few seconds.
We've only got 2 minutes 15 in recording time
Sure,
left.
we need countdown clock now. You know that clock?
If I remember, I'll put on the sound effect behind us.
No. You know that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, go on.
You're going to find this insane.
Go on. Okay,
Because I've got a love for this show.
I think you're going to give it a 9.
I have a look. I'm going to give it a 7.
Oh, okay. I think, yeah.
Okay, I am, and I think that's. I don't know.
And
why.
I'm going to give it the same because I like it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's so
And,
bad. I love this
it's
show.
Special, and it's a special time when I watched it. It was actually really unique, and it's based on one of my favourite all-time
They tried,
sci-fi
didn't they?
stories.
They tried.
Yeah. It's really weird. It's got more plot holes than a black hole on a quantum slipstream singularity drive inversion. But yeah. All right, Martin. Well, look, we're going to shoot off. I'm going to make it a really short show because we're all going through things at the moment. So sorry for the short show. Next week, would you be interested in Land of the Giants?
Yeah. I'm up for a bit of Erwin Allen. Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. That's the one of the last week. We've done all, but we'll do that next week. That'd be cool.
All right. That
Land of
sounds
the Giants.
good.
Martin, thank you. Listen, Martin, get well soon. Thank you for joining me. Even though
I will do, mate.
really
You have
weird
a good
show.
weekend.
We'll see you next week on the Solo One Sci-Fi podcast. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.